What makes a good story? This is a big question to try to answer in just one video. There are so many levels to a good story. Stories are also very subjective, and everyone will have a different thing they look for from stories. In other words, one person cannot accurately answer this question. So, I recruited some help from some people I know. I interviewed a few of the people I know and asked them these questions regarding the topic. Number 1. What draws you to a film or TV show? What makes you want to watch it? Number 2. What would make you stop watching? Number 3. What aspects of a film or show make you stick through the bad parts? And number 4. What are the most memorable bits about TV shows and movies for you? I'll try to make this as cohesive as I can. I'll have sections devoted to each question. You guys can listen to this podcast style if you want, by the way. I'm just using random B-roll for the visual aspect of this, so you don't need the video part to enjoy this. It's all about the audio for this episode. So, without further ado, let's get to it. First, we start with question 1. What draws you to a film or TV show? Let's read out all the responses I got to this question, shall we? First response. If there are actors I know or if the trailers make the plot look interesting. Answer 2. Variety of characters, but not too many that it becomes unmanageable. Response 3. If it is something I have heard good things about, or if the ads I see sell it to me well. Response 4. Good characters draw me in, flawed and interesting characters. Honestly, a good plot is secondary to me, as long as the characters are good. Next response. If there are actors I know, or if I am familiar with the director's work, that or the trailers I see. Next response. I'm in love with animated shows and films, so anything animated, I will watch. So, what can we gather from this? Well, most people said something about the characters being important to them, which makes sense. In my eyes, the characters are the most important part of a film or show. If the characters are not well crafted, everything falls apart. Another common response was that people are more likely to see a project if they are familiar with a certain aspect of it. Whether this be cast, crew, style, franchise, etc. We are more likely to watch things we are on some level familiar with. So how can an independent project grab the attention of viewers if they do not have any aspects they are familiar with? Well, as we've seen from these responses, trailers and word of mouth are super important. A good trailer can make or break the decision to watch a project for people. The trailer needs to sell audiences on the project and show them the soul of the film or show. What we hear from others will also make people want to watch something. I can't count the amount of films and shows I had seen no ad campaigns for, but I watched because I heard people saying good things about it. Let's move on to question 2. What would make you stop watching? Let's hear what people had to say. I would stop watching if it was spoiled for me, or if the story beats get repetitive. If it is repetitive or predictable. Overuse of time skips or cliffhangers. When the characters start acting, well, out of character. That and bad looking lighting or cinematography. When it takes time away from the main plot for a subplot I don't care about. If it's too boring. If they're just talking for talking's sake and no actual plot progression. That or overly sexual scenes because it just makes me uncomfortable. So, what can we take away from these responses? One of the main things we see from this is that people want a consistent story. When the plot gets confusing or does not make sense to the viewer, people will fall off watching. Viewers are very smart, so they can pick up when the writing is getting lazy. Consistency and quality is extremely important. In the same vein, if a story repeats the same tricks or gets too predictable, people will stop watching. Viewers want to be surprised by where the story goes, and want to see new advances in the story. Audiences want quality, whether that be visually, in the story, or characters. Audiences go to films and TV for an escape, so anything that breaks the immersion is a bad thing. If this is characters being noticeably inconsistent, or anything that actively makes you uncomfortable and not want to watch, is bad for the story. In regards to what makes audiences uncomfortable, that really depends on the person, but let's roll with the example given by one of the responses. There are ways to show romantic moments between characters without needing to go too far. For example, you do not need to see nudity or see explicitly sexual moments to see romance between characters. Screenwriters, take note. You can do this without making the audience actively uncomfortable with events. You just need to be willing to put in the creative time and effort to make those moments land. On to question 3. What aspects of a film or show will make you want to sit through the bad bits? Now, on to the responses. If the main plot is good, I'll sit through the dumb subplot stuff. The characters are why I stick around. If they are still compelling, I'm still watching. Fun plot twists keep me watching. That and the theories from the community. I stick around if the characters are compelling and there's real, tangible danger posed to them. That and when a show makes me feel strong emotions. When the characters are well written and the main plot is still well told, regardless of the minor things I don't care for. Okay, so the conclusion for this pretty much comes to itself. Characters keep people watching. This goes back to a point I made earlier. Characters are the most important part of stories. But there's another important takeaway from these answers. Audiences want to have something to look forward to. They want something that keeps them guessing, and keeps them on the edge of their seat. Whether this be a well-executed plot twist, real danger to the characters, or a fanbase with good theories, the audience needs something to remain excited for the future of the story. Final question. This one was a late addition, so I did not get a chance to ask everyone this question, so there will be fewer answers to this one. But here we go. Number 4. What are the most memorable bits about TV and film shows for you? Now here are the responses. Anything that is unique, that I have not seen before. A unique fight scene, interesting cinematography, etc. But any moment that is very emotional always sticks with me as well. For me, it comes down to how the story makes me feel, or any moments of extreme character growth. Moments that have huge build-up and are executed in a satisfying way. The massive fight at the end of Avengers Endgame is the perfect example of this for me. So, what is there to gather from this final question? One thing all these responses have in common is that all these interviewees always remember moments that have a big impact. Moments of hard-hitting emotional gut punches, unique scenes, or massively built-up scenes. Any moment in a film that gives the viewer something unique will stick with them. This question is hard to pinpoint just one answer, because this is probably the most subjective out of these very subjective questions. There is one more thing I want to show you all, though. I did an audio interview with my media teacher on these questions. He is someone who has experience working in the field, and has been around media creation tons. He really knows his stuff. So, I'm going to play this for you now, and I will let you guys come to your own conclusion based on it. Also, I apologize if the audio is not great in this clip. This was recorded in our classroom, so lots of stuff was going on. Okay, first question. What draws you into a film or TV show? What gets you to where you want to watch it? What's the first thing that makes you say, that's something I'm interested in and you want to go forward with?
That's a good question. I'm big into dramas and comedy.
Okay.
So typically what's gotten me, and I'll be honest, I would say in the past couple of years, has been the quick teasers that Netflix does.
Uh-huh.
So when you're scrolling through and you stop on a tile, right? Now they actually autoplay the teaser.
Yeah.
And that's been grabbing me lately. I can just kind of see it, and then plus if the topic interests me, plus I see that little teaser, usually that's enough of a hook for me to so it's really cool. So I've been so for me it's for me it's definitely it's the stuff that I like to watch. I love watching true crime dramas.
Uh-huh.
I love watching comedies. I love watching, so those I already know I like. So that helps. And then also just loving pop culture. I know, okay, these are the hot shows that a lot of people are watching. Yeah. So that tends to kind of bring me in as well.
Okay.
So sometimes, it's certain director or producer or cast, okay, I love so-and-so actor, so I'll probably like them in something new, so I think there's a variety of different things that grab me.
Okay. And what would make you fall off of a show? And this is more for shows, so this can count for movies too.
Yeah. What
would make you fall off it where you stop watching?
So to fall off, I've lost interest in it. I used to love The Walking Dead, but sometimes there's an old adage in the world of TV called jumping the shark, and that's from an old episode of Happy Days.
Yep.
When one of the main characters, literally, in the show, he's actually jumping like a shark, and he's in the water, and so now when a show gets kind of stale, people say, hey, is the show Jump the Shark? Is it kind of getting to a point where nobody cares about it? They get so big and then they just kind of fall off. So for me, kind of the concept or You know, I don't know. I feel like sometimes when shows they do really well to grab your attention, but then they start taking shows in like other directions, or they're not kind of true to the values or the kind of ideas that they brought forth, then they kind of start stretching themselves, and you know that kind of loses me. Sometimes they'll kill off characters for whatever reason, right? Different reasons. That tends to kind of work its way. And I don't know, pacing's a big one for me. Like I love kind of things to keep moving. You know what I mean? I'm less and less interested in like character development nowadays, even though it's super important to, you know. But TV shows, I think like they need to kind of keep moving. You know, so it's kind of like that's what I think happened with The Walking Dead for me, which I love. Like the first couple like episode seasons were like pretty good, and then it just kind of felt like more of the same, you know.
Okay.
So, and I guess it's a zombie apocalypse. I don't know how much more you can do with that, but you know, it's kind of so definitely it's hard, man. Like television, writing for television is not you're not gonna please everybody all the time, you know. So it's kind of so pacing is big for me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably a big one.
And what are some of the things that, like, A, what do you remember most about shows or films? Like, what's the standout thing? And B, what are the things that you enjoy so much if they're done well that you'd be willing to sit through all these bad things that you were saying you don't like to get to those things? So, like, what's the most memorable things in projects that keep you going through any of the bad things, or the things that like bring you back to that project where you'd recommend it to someone else, or things like that?
Yeah. You know, if I were to like, if I look back at like Lost, right? Like Lost is a show that I really enjoyed. I know, you know, if you watch the first 2 seasons, I'd say, you know, the storytelling is very compelling. Right? People lost on like they get crash land on this mysterious island, you know, and they kept things pretty realistic, you know, before they got into a lot of like the more sci-fi kind of stuff, you know. So for me, definitely like having a super unique, well, not unique concept, but something where they can tell a compelling story, right? With like with good acting, definitely helps. And like I'm not a big sci-fi guy, so anytime it goes too deep into sci-fi, like it just doesn't kind of. Another good example for me has been Breaking Bad. Like Breaking Bad was, I mean, that's all like character development and watching the transformation of the main character over, you know, 6 seasons, I think it was. But for me, it's just, you know, when the writing team really understands the character and the characters around, you know, the supporting cast. And they can develop storylines that like are not crazy unbelievable, and you know that would kind of make sense in the world in which they're operating. I think that's really really powerful. So for me it's, you know, like I said, Breaking Bad's a good one. I've been watching Ted Lasso, which has been really cool, you know, really fun one, you know, really unique concept, you know, having an American dude out in the middle of England coaching, you know, a football coach coaching soccer, you know, so a lot of humor there. But I love what they're doing with the characters, which is they're trying to do a lot of unique things with the characters themselves that aren't very traditional in the world of, you know, which I think honestly, like with the advent of Netflix and Hulu and now Apple TV, because Ted Lasso's Apple TV, like they have more flexibility in how they write characters, you know, so now you can get a little quirkier, where normally like HBO or NBC or CBS might not have said yes to Ted Lasso. Apple TV was like, hey, you know what, let's try it, what the heck, you know, let's give it a shot, and it worked out, you know. So
do you think this means that like more projects could go forward now that there's so many more avenues? Do you think
absolutely, man, 100%. I tell the kids all the time, it's like there's never been a higher need for content than today, you know, because the Apple TVs want the next big hit. Because before, like I said, before it was the HBOs and the Showtimes and the AMCs, they were the traditional outlets. But now that Netflix has come around, right, now that Hulu's come around, Apple TV's come around, Amazon's come around, now the whole landscape has completely changed.
Yeah.
You know, and so these guys are willing to try things that a lot of the larger networks aren't willing to try. You know,
Okay.
and it's understandable because like the traditional networks, they operate under a different kind of, because they're trying to generate revenue through subscriptions on
Yeah.
cable TV, right? Whereas the Netflix guys, like, they started doing movies and they already have a bunch of money,
Yeah.
and now they can explore and experiment
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So,
All right. Thank you.
yeah, all good, man. All good.
So what do you guys think of this? Feel free to leave your responses to the questions or your own takeaways from the responses down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more content by me. And if you want to see even more content by me, then feel free to follow me on my Instagram and Twitter pages, which are both at Ninja Family Entertainment. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye, guys.